Ah! Happy Halloween, folks. Or I should say, happy almost Halloween. Today we're going to talk about fear. And specifically, how you should react to fear. Fear as it relates to language learning, because we all know that language learning can be terrifying when you have to speak to native speakers. And also just as it relates to life, because this channel, it's about language learning, but it's really a channel that I want to talk about all things that relate to your life. How can you improve your life? And we all know that when you're learning a language, when it comes time to speak your target language to a native speaker or to someone that is just better at the language than you are, it's just scary. It's intimidating. You know, you have an accent, you're going to make mistakes, and it's scary. And if you let that fear control you, then you're going to have problems. You're not going to learn your language. So in this video, we're just going to talk about fear. I thought it would be a relevant topic as Halloween is coming up. I'm going to share with you guys some of my deepest fears. We're going to get real here. For those of you who are watching live or watching later, I encourage you just to join in the discussion about things that scare you. I'm going to talk about phobias and how you can learn from that, how you can relate to it, how you can make yourself a better person and a better language learner. This kind of came up actually out of some conversations that I've been having with my girlfriend over the last week or two. You know, as Halloween is coming up, I'm getting ready and looking forward to going to some haunted houses. And my girlfriend is a super sweet girl. She's just very kind and a little sheltered and is terrified of haunted houses. So we've been having these conversations. I've been trying to convince her to go with me. She doesn't want to go. And so it's just been on my mind a lot. And I thought, as I was thinking about a live stream to do for this week, I thought this would be the perfect topic because it relates so well to language learning. The Killer 123 says, "My fear is dying alone. My cat eats my face." Dude, it's a real fear. My parents have a cat and I'm allergic to it. So I have cat-related nightmares. Anyways, yeah, we're going to talk about, I'm going to share with you guys some of my fears, some of my experiences. We're going to go deep in this video. Before we do, I want to talk about attitude, okay? Because that's what this whole video is about. Talking about the attitude that you need to have when it comes to fear. Fear is a very natural thing for humans to experience, okay? Social fear, like when you're learning languages. Physical fear, you know, it's a very ancient part of the brain, right? It goes back a long time and has helped humans survive. Fear is a natural reaction to dangerous situations. Unfortunately, sometimes the brain can be overactive and cause you to fear things that are not actually dangerous, things that could legitimately help you, okay? And in my estimation, it's very natural to have the attitude where you say, when it comes to things that scare me, I should avoid those things because I don't want to be scared. This is the wrong attitude to have. Okay? Do not avoid things just because they scare you. You can avoid things because they're dangerous. You can avoid things that you believe are going to be harmful to you, that you believe are going to lead you down the wrong path. There's plenty of reasons to avoid something. And a lot of those reasons will overlap with the fear that you feel. But the fear in and of itself is not a good reason to avoid something. The right attitude that you should have is, I'm going to confront my fears, I'm going to master my fears, and I'm going to control my fears so that they don't control me. The Killer 123 also has a big fear of using the subjunctive wrong in Spanish. This is very true. It's a real fear. And see, and as it relates to Halloween, we're talking about physical fears, right? These are like more primordial fears, deep inside, fear of death and murder and stuff. But social fears are just as real, right? I mean, they're just as natural, and they're just they've helped our ancestors survive just in the way that physical fear also has. Because, you know, in a social situation, if you're in a tribe of hunter-gatherers like our ancestors were, then you need to know how to interact with them, how not to make a fool of yourself, how to be the kind of person that others are going to want to help, and not the kind of person that others are going to want to stab in the back, right? So social fears are just as legitimate to survival as physical fears. Don't Tread on Me says, I can second that. No matter how well you know the language, if you're afraid to use it, I feel like that sentence was incomplete. But yeah, if you're afraid to use the language, if you're afraid of speaking, you're just not going to learn. You can listen, you can use Duolingo all day, but your fear of speaking can seriously be a hindrance to your language learning. So you need to learn how to control your fears so that they don't control you. And fear can take over your life. It can destroy you. If you've ever met someone who has a true phobia, you understand this, right? I didn't understand what a phobia was until I moved to Central America a few years ago. Okay. And you know, you hear people talking about phobias. There's a bunch of really strange phobias, right? The fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth, or the fear of, I don't know, the fear of women with beards or something like that. You know, and a lot of these I think are just made up phobias. I mean, I don't know, maybe there are people out there that suffer from them, and so I want to be sensitive to those people, I guess. If you have a fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth, I don't hate you. I don't think you're weird. Well, I do think it's a little bit weird. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Phobias are real things, and I didn't understand it until I moved to Central America, and I met a friend down there who had a true phobia of frogs. Strange as that seems to me, anyways. She was just mortified of frogs, okay? And this was not just a fear of frogs, okay? A lot of people think they're ugly or gross. You don't want to get close to them. This girl was literally debilitatingly fearful of frogs. And so I don't want this story. I'm going to tell this story. I don't want it to sound bad, okay? I saw that she was afraid of frogs, and before I realized how deep this fear really went, I thought, I'm going to help her overcome her fear of frogs, okay? And you guys probably know where this is going. And I swear I did not mean this in a mean way, or you know, I wasn't laughing at her. I wasn't making fun of her. I had the same philosophy about fear as I have today, that you should just confront your fears. And I legitimately wanted to help this girl, a very close friend of mine. We were super close. I mean, we were together every day, hanging out, talking. We were very close. I called her Gemela, my twin sister. That's what I called her. And so I would catch frogs, and I wasn't cruel. I wouldn't throw frogs at her. I would just hold a frog maybe 20 or 30 feet away from her, and I would slowly walk up to her, and I'd be like, "Hey, Mela, I just want you to touch the frog. Just point out a finger and touch it, just to conquer your fear. If you can reach out a finger and touch this frog, then that shows improvement. That shows courage. That shows that you're able to confront your fears rather than just running from your fears." And she couldn't do it. She was that mortified of frogs. It was like I was torturing her, and I wasn't trying to. I was legitimately just trying. I wanted her to improve her life. And then I remember one time I was walking. We were playing soccer, and I saw this frog that was literally, I'm not joking, this frog was less than a centimeter long. It was just so small, like the smallest frog I've ever seen. And I caught that, and I was like, this is perfect. There's no way she can be afraid of this frog. And I walked up to her with this little frog in my hand, and I was like, "Hey, Mela, just touch it. Just reach out a finger and touch it, and then you'll have accomplished something huge." And she could not do it. She ran away from me screaming. And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to let you just give in to your fear of frogs." And so I followed her with this frog. And I don't remember exactly what happened. She ran up to a building or into a corner or something. And I walked in there with this tiny, tiny little frog this big. And I realized she was crying because of the frog. And up until that point, I realized that she was afraid of frogs, but I didn't realize that this was seriously a psychological issue. This was a debilitating fear of frogs, not just a normal fear. Hey, David Peak, how's it going? Good, how are you? Anyways, sorry, I just want to check my comments every once in a while. Back to my story about the frog. Yeah, I learned something that day. That's when I realized what a phobia really is, because she wasn't just afraid of frogs like most people are afraid of creepy crawly animals. This was a debilitating fear that rendered her completely useless. I mean, in situations where frogs were present, she couldn't do anything. All she could do is just cower in fear. I have an aunt who has a terrible phobia of snakes. She can't walk through. I mean, they have a house out in the country, and she can't walk outside in the summer. It's just debilitating. And I'm not mad at these people. I realize that these are seriously problematic. Is not something to laugh at. Fear can really overrun your life and prevent you from doing things that you really need to do. And this is not an enviable situation to be in, though. That's the point of this whole video. Once you get to that point, man, I don't know if there's any way you can turn around. You can't face your fear of frogs if you can't even touch a frog that's this big and it causes you to cry, right? It's like, how are you going to lose weight if you're 600 pounds and you can't even walk or exercise, right? In the same way, if you allow yourself to get to the point where fear just ruins your life, then I don't know if there's any turning back from that. You just have to learn to deal with your fear, and that's not an ideal situation to be in. I have a terrible fear, and for those of you guys who have been watching my channel for a while, you know how much I travel. You're gonna laugh at this. My biggest fear, my biggest physical fear, is flying on airplanes. Man, I hate it. I hate flying in airplanes. It just terrifies me. Literally every time I'm on a plane and it's taken off, I have to sit there and just close my eyes and hold on, put my earphones in or something, and just pray. And just, it terrifies me every time. And especially when you're on a flight that has a lot of turbulence, oh gosh, it just makes me want to die. I actually wasn't terrified of flying in planes until 2015. Um, I had a friend who was in the Marine Corps with me, died in a training mission. Um, the two helicopters crashed together somewhere off the coast of Hawaii, and yeah, they just went out for a normal training mission, and never came back. I don't think they ever found them. Never found the birds. Never found the bodies. And up until that point, I was never afraid of flying, but it just terrifies me now. But I fly all the time. I don't let my fear control me because I know that flying is statistically safe. It's safer than driving a car. My mom just gets wasted before flying. David Peak says, "That's awful. I'm so sorry." Yeah, it's rough, man. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't get wasted before flying, but that would probably help. Milos Forman did the same. At least you fly despite the fear. Some people don't even get close to an airport. Yeah, yeah. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here. If I were to just say, well, I'm afraid of flying, so I'm not going to, I would never go anywhere. I mean, I could go to Canada, or I could go to Mexico, or around the United States. Okay. But let's say I avoided airplanes just because I was afraid of it. Over the years of avoiding airplanes, that's just going to become normal, right? It's just going to become normal to just accept the fear and just to say, I'm not going to fly just because it scares me, right? And then let's say I have to go to a wedding in Hawaii. Well, I'm not going to drive to the coast and then take a boat to Hawaii, right? If I've seriously developed a fear that's this debilitating, then I just have to say, sorry, man, I'd love to be at your wedding. You know, I'd love to be groomsman. I know you want me to be your best man. Can't do it because I won't fly, and I can't take 2 weeks off to sail to Hawaii and back. That's a real thing. People really let fear dictate their lives. They have what's called, I've been reading a little bit about what they call psychological feedback loops, okay? And we're all familiar with feedback as it relates to microphones and amplifiers. It's the same concept in psychology. You have an input that gets amplified, and then there's an output, like a thermostat. And then the output gets picked up by the input again and amplified again. So you have a microphone. You make just a tiny sound, a tiny sound into the microphone. It gets amplified, comes out through the speakers, and if you point the microphone at the speakers, then that sound gets picked up by the microphone again, gets amplified again, comes to the speakers again, gets picked up, amplified, and really quickly it just makes an unbearable sound. Okay, that's feedback. That's that's the terrible screeching sound you get when you point the microphone at the speakers. And it just starts with just a tiny. It could start with the tiniest of sounds, not loud, but it gets amplified every time. And it's the same thing in psychology with fears. Like I said, I don't drink alcohol, but I've heard that alcoholism is a type of is a type of a feedback loop. Okay. You drink until you get drunk. You have a good night, a good time. And then the next morning, you're just really hungover. And like I said, I don't really know what being hungover even is like. So maybe I shouldn't talk about it, but I'm going to. And from what I understand, one of the best cures for a hangover is more alcohol. Either that or you drink so much that you kind of ruin your life. And then the way to forget your problems is by drinking more. Okay, this is a feedback loop. Okay, and it keeps amplifying itself the more you do it. And if you don't check that loop and stop the loop at some point, then it can spiral out of control. Fear is the same thing. It's like classical conditioning, Pavlov's dogs, right? Every time you bring the dogs food, you ring a bell and they start to salivate to the sound of the bell. If you condition yourself to get a little reward from avoiding fear, then you're going to become more and more and more prone to avoid fear, to the point where you literally can't avoid, you can't confront your fears. Hi, Andy. Sorry, I just saw your comment. Thanks for joining. There was a superstar footballer or soccer player in the US, and he was afraid of airplanes, and sometimes he missed matches because he couldn't get there possibly on time. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, how can you be a soccer player that can't fly to games? That totally, like, if I'm a coach and I have a soccer player that can't get to the game because he's too afraid of getting in a plane, that is problematic. You're going to lose your job. Okay, I'm not hiring you if you miss a game because you can't get in an airplane. Yeah, the killer 123 says depends how much you drink. Yeah, of course, I'm not saying everyone who drinks is going to suffer the feedback loop of alcoholism, but it can happen. It does happen, and that's partially why I just choose not to drink at all. But of course, if you can drink in moderation, then just be careful. But have at it. As long as you can stop the loop before it gets out of control. That's the important thing. If every time you see a spider, you call someone over to kill the spider for you, you've just essentially taught yourself that you can get away without killing spiders. You can always have someone do it for you. You're conditioning yourself to believe that, first of all, that you're incapable of killing spiders, and second of all, that there's no need to kill spiders. Okay, and that can be problematic too. Okay, let's say you're home alone or you live by yourself, and there's a giant spider in your house. Okay, this is a legitimately dangerous situation. This is not trivial. Okay, here in Wisconsin, it's not a big deal to have a spider in your house. But if you live in a part of the world where there's actually dangerous spiders, when I lived in El Salvador, I remember I laid in bed one time and I looked right next to my bed and there was a huge spider right next to me. Okay. Fortunately, I don't give in to my fears. I killed it, not with the back of my hand. I found a flip-flop to kill it. Okay. If you have a debilitating fear of spiders that won't allow you to approach the spider and kill it, what are you going to do? You just have to let that spider run loose in your house. You can go try to find someone to kill it for you, but then there's no guarantee that the spider is still going to be where it was when you left. Okay. And now you have a spider loose in your house that could kill you. Okay. Fear can kill you. If you can't work up the courage to do difficult things, even when inaction is legitimately dangerous, that's an issue. Okay. And it doesn't necessarily start with huge spiders on your bed. It starts with the little spider that you know is not poisonous. Okay, if you live in Wisconsin, we don't have real dangerous spiders. Supposedly, apparently there's been brown recluse sightings in Wisconsin, but I've never seen one. I live in the country. I grew up catching spiders in the backyard, and feeding them to my goldfish. Okay. If you can't kill a little spider, if you have to call someone over to come kill the spider, you're teaching yourself that it's legitimate to be terrified and that you can get away without acting upon that. Okay. And every time you do so, it's going to make you less and less likely to be able to act in the future. Confronting your fears can also be a feedback loop. Okay. This is not just a negative thing. It's positive too. You can have positive feedback loops. Let's say you are terrified of spiders, but you work up the fear to kill it one time. Okay. You might have to huff and puff for a little bit, psych yourself up, play your Rocky music, and really psych yourself up. And then you walk over and kill it. And to me, it might be a tiny accomplishment because I kill spiders all the time that are this big or that big. But to you, it might be a huge milestone. And that's going to feel good. Okay? You're now conditioning yourself to believe in yourself, to believe that you can do it, to believe that you can overcome your fear. And then the next time, you're going to remember that positive feeling, that euphoria that you felt by overcoming your fear. And listen, I know it's hard, but I've learned to really enjoy overcoming fears or uncomfortable or awkward situations. Okay. I've come to actually like I don't know what you call them, a mental reward when you do something and all of a sudden it just feels good. And, in the pleasure center of your brain lights up and you think, I want to do that again. I've come to really enjoy overcoming fearful situations. I've taught myself that over the years. I didn't go on a roller coaster till I was 19 years old. You ask any of my family members, I was not a brave kid. Okay. My brother, who is 3 years younger than me, has been going on roller coasters since he was like 6, since he was tall enough to ride roller coasters. Okay. I did not ride one roller coaster until I was 19. And the sense of accomplishment that I got after going on one, first of all, I realized that it was not as scary as I thought it was. I thought it was going to be mortifyingly scary. And I just thought I have to force myself to do it because I was about to join the Marine Corps. And I was like, I have to get used to doing things that I'm not comfortable with. So I forced myself onto the roller coaster and I realized halfway through, it's not scary. It's fun. It's a rush. It was a little scary at first, but afterward, even more so than the fun of actually riding the roller coaster was the sense of accomplishment at having overcome a fear. And now, man, I love it. I love when I find something new that I'm afraid of so that I can overcome it. I'm still working on the airplanes thing. But like I said, I'm not debilitatingly afraid of airplanes. I don't refuse to get on. It's just, I think it's going to take me some more time. It's been 3 years now since this fear started from when my friend died. So it's a positive feedback loop. The next time you get the opportunity to face your fear, first of all, it's going to be a little bit easier because I've already done it. Second of all, you're going to remember that euphoria that you had the first time, and you're going to know that there's going to be a literal reward that comes with facing your fear. Lion RS says, wait, you are a Marine? Yeah, I was. They say you're... the slogan is once a Marine, always a Marine, but I was in the Marine Corps. Let's see. Andy says, I've been procrastinating posting videos in my foreign languages because I've been afraid of being criticized for my bad pronunciation, but today I decided to do so anyway. See, that's what I'm talking about. I love to hear that, Andy. By coincidence, this is what I've been thinking about this week. I love to hear that. Thanks for sharing that, Andy. That's the whole purpose of my Esperanto YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen my Esperanto channel before, it's Fingtam Esperanto. I have a lot of Fingtam channels if you haven't noticed this before. The whole purpose of my channel is for me to upload videos of myself making a fool of myself in a foreign language. Okay. I'm not a great Esperanto speaker. Very basic, maybe B1, if that. A2, B1, somewhere in there. And when I make videos in Esperanto, it's at least 60% me saying, what's the word? How do you say this? Okay, I'm not sure if I said that right. And I look stupid. I know I look stupid. Even if you don't speak Esperanto, you can go out, check out my channel. It's Fingtam Esperanto. Go check it out, and you're going to see how much I stumble over my words. I second guess myself, and I look like an idiot. And that's okay. That's the point. The point is to confront your fears, your social anxieties of not speaking correctly. How is your French going? Much better than my Esperanto, we'll put it that way. I'm taking 2 upper-level French classes this semester, and it's really it's going well. I'm happy with my improvement. David says, Andy, it's really impressive that you are learning such different languages at the same time. I'm sticking to Romance languages. Yeah, see, Alexandra says, bravo, I'm happy for you, Andy. Man, this is the kind of thing that happens when you face your fears. I know it's scary. I know it's scary leading up to it, but there is a reward for it. Man, I'm just telling you, it's a happy thing to do when you can face your fear. And the more afraid you are of it, the more of the more of a reward it's going to be. And he says, yeah, your Esperanto videos are hard to watch because you pause so much as you speak, but you've learned a lot because you can say a lot. Yeah. And I'm sure it must be annoying for fluent Esperanto speakers. And now Andy's roasting. Yeah, that's funny. But no, I mean, Andy is totally right. I pause a lot. I have to think. I have to stop. And I'm sure it has to be annoying to native Esperanto speakers or just people that are fluent in Esperanto watching the video. They're like, just spit it out, get to the point. But they also understand. No one has ever gotten mad at me for making mistakes in my Esperanto channel. They have been so encouraging. Yes, and Andy, I know you meant it as a compliment. That's the only way I took it. And I know the killer was just joking too. Yeah, so confronting your fears can also be a positive feedback loop. That's why I've been trying to get my girlfriend to go to this haunted house with me. I really don't care so much. Like, I enjoy going to haunted houses. It's fun. I don't go every year. I mean, not even close to every year. I've gone maybe 4 or 5 haunted houses in my life. So if we don't go, it's not a big deal. I don't care about the haunted house, but I want her to go with because she's terrified of haunted houses. Last year, I just off the cuff, I mentioned to her, yeah, I went to a haunted house with some of my friends, and the first thing she said is, oh, I would never do that. Okay. And that's not the attitude that I like. Because, and here's the thing, with snakes and spiders and stuff, it's a little different. Okay, because those things are dangerous. Haunted houses are not dangerous. Flying in an airplane, not really dangerous. Okay, yeah, you could make the argument there that there is some element of danger, but we all know flying is safe. We all know it. Haunted houses, not dangerous. Scary movies, not dangerous. Okay, roller coasters, not dangerous. They're scary though, because they tap into certain primordial instincts that would have saved us as hunter-gatherers, when our ancestors were living, because they represented real dangers. But today, these things are not dangerous. Roller coasters, scary movies, haunted houses, all kinds of things, not really dangerous. And if you can't confront something that's not really dangerous just because you're afraid of it, that's a problem. Now, you may not enjoy it. You may go on a roller coaster and then say, well, that wasn't very fun. I don't want to do that again. And that's fine. It's fine to say that, okay? It's not fine to say, I'm so terrified that I can't do it. And that's the point I'm getting at. Let's say you're with a group of friends, and you're all hanging out together, and then they all decide to go, I don't know. You're all hanging out, and then they all say, oh, what are we going to do? Let's go to a haunted house. Okay. If you're the kind of person who hates haunted houses, and because your friends want to do it, you go along with them, and you can conquer your fear, but you don't like it and you don't want to do it again, then that's not an issue. Okay. You can maybe make an argument that it's an issue that you allow them to peer pressure you. But if you make a conscious decision for yourself that because my friends want to do this and go along, even though it scares me, I find that to be totally healthy. Okay. If you're the kind of person who says, all my friends want to go do this and I want to hang out with them, but I'm just too scared to go. And so I'm going to wait out here while they all go in and have a good time. I find that to be problematic. And again, it's not about peer pressure. Like you don't want to be the kind of person that gives into peer pressure. But peer pressure is really only a problem when they're pressuring you to do something bad or stupid or dangerous. Okay. When your peers are doing something beneficial or something that's even neutral, like haunted houses, I wouldn't say haunted houses are really necessary for living a good life, but they're not bad, they're not dangerous. If you allow your fear to stop you from doing those kind of things, it's an issue. It is an issue. Okay, it may not be detrimental to your life. You can go through life not going to haunted houses, not riding roller coasters, not killing spiders. Okay, you can make it through in our society nowadays. Okay, we're not hunter-gatherers anymore. We don't necessarily. You can get through while avoiding these things. But again, it's not about the haunted house, the roller coaster, and killing the spider. It's about the kind of person that you want to be, the kind of attitude that you want to have. You should be constantly trying to make yourself better. And I mean, this is the perfect channel for me to express this sentiment. People that are watching my videos are trying to make themselves better. They're trying to learn something. They're trying to become a more well-rounded person. Okay. And if you're trying to be a well-rounded person and you can't even bring yourself to face a fear that's not dangerous, you have an area to work on. We'll put it like that. There's something that you can improve about yourself. Okay. So that when the time comes for that you are really in a difficult, dangerous, or even just an uncomfortable situation, you'll be better prepared to handle those situations. Rasmus A says, fear is a human thing, nothing abnormal. I have to say that I often feel afraid even commenting in English because a voice in my head is saying that my English is the S word all the time. Very true. I don't know when you joined the live stream, but I mentioned this a lot earlier. Fear is very natural, and fear has helped humans survive for many years. Fear definitely plays a positive role in your life, as long as you know how to control it, as long as you contain it to being afraid of things that are actually dangerous and actually detrimental to your life. Okay. You may feel fear in other situations, but you just have to be able to understand the difference between the two. The Killer 123 says, I was super spooked the first time I spoke Spanish to a native. Andy says, Pinkham's speech can be summarized by the famous quote, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. True. Yeah. Yep, we're all terrified of speaking to native speakers. But again, that falls under the category of something that's not really dangerous. Okay, there's really not even social consequences of speaking poorly to a native speaker. Okay, they're not going to be mad at you. And we all know this in our head, but for some reason we can't get past the fear to allow us to go forward and practice our languages with them. Okay, and that's where the problem lies. All right. Yeah, fear is very, very natural, very normal, and very healthy in certain situations. So what do you do? How do you control your fear? How do you overcome it? What do you do? What actions can you take? Well, first of all, you start slowly. Okay. Maybe you don't go to the Satan's Tower of Terror as your first haunted house experience. Maybe you go to the haunted bus at Jerry Smith's pumpkin farm. Okay. And you walk through the bus and there's like a little ghost hanging on the side and they have some spooky music playing and there's like some fake cobwebs. And then you get out the other side of the bus, right? And you allow that to be your first experiment, your first experience with a haunted house. You work your way up, okay? You don't go straight hunting giant tarantulas to kill. But when you see a little spider on the opposite side of the room, you work up the courage, grab yourself a newspaper, roll it up, and you walk up to it and you kill it. Okay, this is how I started to like coffee, actually. Not necessarily a fear-related thing, but it's a distaste. I hated the taste of coffee. I really despised it. Then a few years ago, I just kind of realized I'm missing out on certain social situations because everyone wants to go out for coffee. Or they say, hey, can I buy you a coffee? Can we go out for coffee? And I always have to be like, well, I don't like coffee. I can't stand it. Or, you're visiting someone's house, you're going camping together and they make coffee and everyone has a cup of coffee and I just have to drink my water, right? So I decided I'm just going to start liking coffee. I'm going to start to drink it. I didn't start by chugging espresso. Espresso? How do you say that word? Language channel. Language folk, I need your phonology information. Is it espresso? I think it's espresso. You don't start by chugging espresso. You start, the way I started, is by making a huge cup of hot chocolate and then pour a little bit of coffee into that hot chocolate. Okay? You still get the coffee taste a little bit. That little bit of coffee just permeates the whole cup. Espresso. Okay, I'm not sure why there's a comment that says KKKU rock. Start drinking alcohol, it's the same thing. It's espresso. Okay, good to know. Espresso. Anyways, huge cup of coffee, huge cup of hot chocolate, little bit of coffee. That coffee taste just permeates the whole thing, and you get a little bit of the taste, even though it's 90% hot chocolate, which I do like. Then you start to increase the ratio as you get used to it. And then by the end, you're drinking mostly coffee with a little bit of chocolate flavoring in it. And then after that, you're just drinking coffee. Okay, that's what I did. And it took me a year to actually start to drink it. And to tell you the truth, I still don't really enjoy the taste of coffee. I never drink a cup of coffee and think, man, that just tasted really good. But I can drink it. I can drink gallons of it. Don't bother me at all. Black, I don't care. I'll drink it. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I've lost that disgust. And again, don't particularly like it. I don't expect my girlfriend to ever like going to haunted houses. She's probably never going to get the same thrill that I get. But if you start easy and work your way up, you can overcome your fears. You can overcome your distaste. I did the same thing with tomatoes. Hey, I still don't like tomatoes. I still think they taste pretty gross, but I can eat them, right? Because I'd make myself a big salad and put a few little tomatoes in it. Or get a burger. You know, a lot of people just layer on the tomato slices. I put myself half a little tomato slice on a big burger, and I can eat it now. Don't like it. Doesn't taste good, but I can tolerate it. All right. And so if I'm in a situation, and this is legitimate, this is not a trivial thing. If I'm in a situation when I'm at someone's house and they serve me something with tomatoes, I don't have to reject it, and I don't have to force myself to I don't have to fight back tears in order to not offend them by eating their stuff. I can just eat it, and that's fine. Doesn't taste good, tastes bad. I don't care. I can eat it. It's not a big deal. You start to realize that these things are not a big deal. But it does help to skydiving is another fear that I have. I mean, I guess I don't know if you could necessarily say I'm afraid of skydiving, but it's something that I would be afraid of given the situation. If my friends wanted to go skydiving, wanted to take me with, I would definitely be scared of that. For sure. Goes along with my fear of airplanes. Heights has been really one of my main fears for a long time. I've pretty much overcome my fear of heights. I don't care. I can go up tall buildings or climb trees. Don't bother me. But skydiving is scary, which is why I want to do it. I'm going to do it someday. Got to work up to there, though. I don't know if I could do it if we went today, but I'm going to have to go bungee jumping. That seems like a good intermediate step. Or go to Six Flags, go to the giant drop. It's the one where it's kind of a dumb ride, to tell you the truth. It's like 1 second long. You just go up this really tall tower. I don't know if you guys can see my hands from there. Go up the really tall tower. You sit there for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then you just drop down, and that's the ride. It hurts. It's freaky. I don't like it. But that I can do. I've been on the giant drop a lot of times, even though I don't necessarily like it. And it's all working up. One of these days I am going to go skydiving. Live stream the skydive. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool live stream. Unfortunately, I still have a flip phone, so I can really only live stream from my house where I have Wi-Fi. But that's a good idea. I could bring a GoPro with, film my live stream and make a video, or film my skydive and make a video out of that. How do native English speakers see non-native mistakes? Okay, good question. I don't know how to say that name. Vollerr. Vollerr. What's your native language, by the way? Vol or voler. You can answer that when I know there's a delay in the recording, but when you hear my question, give me an answer. What's your native language? Because I can tell you that when you hear someone speaking your native language, okay, Portuguese from Brazil, Portugal. I can tell you that when you hear someone speak Portuguese as a non-native, me, okay, I can say, eu quiero aprender a falar português. And I can say, bom dia, or boa noite, okay, from Brazil. Bom dia. Eu quero aprender a falar português. Okay. Do I sound like a native speaker? Do I have an accent? Do I make mistakes? Yes, of course I do. Did you understand me? Well, I hope so, probably. Muito bem, muito bom. Tudo bem, tudo bem. Muito bom. Did I offend you? Were you mad that I made mistakes? Were you mad that I have an accent? No. I hope not. If you are, then you have a problem, not me. Okay, because I'm learning. All right, and you know I'm learning, or you at least know that I'm not a native speaker. That's how people see you when you make mistakes in English. Okay, I don't care if you make mistakes. Of course you're gonna make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. Okay, if you're not making mistakes, you're an idiot. I'll go as far as to say that. Okay, if you're only saying things that you know you're gonna say correctly, you're missing out on an opportunity to learn. Okay. You have to expand your horizons. You have to come out of your comfort zone. That's where the learning happens, on the border between the order and the chaos. Okay? You can't learn a language by sitting in the Shire. Okay? You got to go to Mordor. It's nice to see you trying. I don't care if you made mistakes. Yeah. Obrigado. 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 You understand me, see? So fear is unfounded. It's just not worth it. There's two reasons. There's 2 points here. Okay. If you, not only are your fears unfounded because they're not truly dangerous, they're not truly detrimental, they're not catastrophic to your life. Okay. That's a lie. And the second lie is that, or it's not a lie. It's a lie to say that the fear is in these situations, it's a lie to say that the fear is protecting you, okay? Because these situations are just not dangerous, okay? And the second thing you have to take into account is that if you do give into the fear, you don't leave your comfort zone, then you're not going to learn, okay? So it's a double, it's really kind of a two-way misconception. Yeah, boy, Lord of the Rings references all day. Monolingual English speakers are often critical of people who don't speak English well, but the problem is with their attitude, not with your learning English. Exactly. And there's a quote out there. Okay, almost all Americans speak one language, okay? Unless you came from another country, or you're just the very rare exception of someone learning languages in school well. Most Americans have like 2 semesters of Spanish or French that they don't remember any of it. So if you're an American and you're speaking to someone who has an accent, the quote is something along the lines of, I don't judge people when I hear them speaking with an accent because it means that they speak one more language than I do. And even if they don't speak it perfectly, maybe they speak 1.5 languages and I only speak 1 for most Americans. All right, don't tread on me says, I applied for English language CSE major this year, and now I'm actually learning CSE in English. I was afraid whether I'll understand classes, but I took the risk and it was worth it. It's always worth it. Even if you fail, Even when you fail, you're going to realize that the consequences of failing were not as bad as you previously thought they were. Okay? Unless, well, when it comes to skydiving, it's a little different. Because if you fail at skydiving, then the consequences are real. Haunted houses, roller coasters, speaking, they don't have real consequences. Okay? The consequences are in your brain. It's made up. It's a lie. It's a lie. You don't have to be afraid of them. All right. There are people who live here for 20 years and never learn English. That's what makes Americans upset. It doesn't make me upset. I just think you're kind of dumb. Okay? To not put an effort into it. If you're older and you spend 20 years and you put in an effort and you just can't learn very well, then I have no quarrels with you. But if you're going to live in a country for 20 years and not make any effort to learn the language, that doesn't make sense. Okay? And I say that as someone who frequently travels to other countries, and I try to learn the language right away. So it's not, I don't know, maybe that didn't come out quite the way that I wanted it to come out. There's a meme going around the internet. Who is a person with an accent? A person with courage, something like that. I like that. If you have an accent and you're speaking with an accent, it takes courage. Because it's scary. It just is. The other time people complain is when they call customer service but can't understand the rep because their English pronunciation is bad. Yeah, that's legitimate. If you have a job that requires you to speak a language well, then you should want, there's a real fear, because if people can't understand you, then you're going to lose your job. That would be a situation where fear actually is beneficial, having you to do something good, not fear that's preventing you from doing something good. Like I said earlier, for if people are joining this live stream now, earlier we talked about how fear is beneficial. There's a reason for fear. It's biological, and it helped us survive for many, many, many generations when we were hunter-gatherers. Okay, fear of saber-toothed tigers is beneficial. It helps you. Okay, just like probably if you work in a call center and no one's understanding you, then fear of losing your job probably is a beneficial thing that's going to push you to try to learn English better. There have been people on here, I don't remember, is it Rasmus or someone, who have mentioned before that they work in a call center or trying to work in a call center. And it's a real fear, right? But it's not a fear of trying something. It's a fear. It's a fear that's going to push you to make yourself better, not a fear that's going to prevent you from trying new things. Are you still learning French? Is trying to learn 2 languages in the same time a mistake? That's a widely discussed question. I am still learning French, yes. Still improving. You can learn 2 languages at once. It's harder. It's not as efficient. It's going to take you longer. You can do it. People do it. Yeah. Luca, what's his name? Luca Lamparillo, real famous polyglot from Italy. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. It's Luca. I watched a video by him. He was one of the first polyglots I found online. He had a video about how to learn 10 languages or how to learn 20 languages in 10 years or something along those lines. Luca Lamparillo. Yeah, and he recommended learning 2 languages at a time for 2 years each, and then moving on to 2 more languages, something like that. Now, you can do it. Depends what your goals are. If your goal is to just learn a butt ton of languages, then you might want to learn 2 languages at a time, especially if you're not concerned about mastering any of them. If you just want to get conversational in a bunch of languages, and that's what is motivating you, that's what is is fulfilling to you, then yeah, you can do it. If you want to work in a call center for one of your languages, then probably not a good idea. You want to master that language. All right, Andy, thanks for joining us. Have a good time at work. And speaking of that, I also actually have to get going now. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I hope Mr. Tomato Face, I'm just saying this. That's a fun name. Mr. Tomato Face. Fear only exists in our minds. That's exactly where it exists. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out, talking. Thanks for all your questions. Please clap. Thanks for joining us. Yep, we will see you guys later, and great live stream today. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a fun topic to talk about. Maybe we'll bring it back up again sometime. All right, we'll see you guys later. Take care.